Good evening and welcome to the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute's virtual gala celebrity fundraiser. It's going to be a fantastic night. My name is Scott Rintoul and I'll be your host here this evening. You're going to hear from some fantastic celebrities. You're going to hear about the goal of the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute, the big one of which is to make Canada the fittest nation on earth by 2030. Now that's a big goal, and it's not something that we just look to a few people for. Everybody has a role to play across this country, and we're hoping that wherever you're watching from here tonight, we're in Vancouver, wherever you are, thanks for joining us. We're hoping you have a role to play tonight as well. Yes, there's a fundraising component. We're trying to raise up to $50,000 tonight. An amount that would be doubled, by the way, by our generous sponsor if we can get to $50,000. There's better news, though. We're already at $28,000, so we don't have that far to go. You can help push us across that finish line over the course of this evening. $5, $50, $500, whatever you have, it will be most welcome. As mentioned, it's going to get doubled up to $50,000, and we're already at $28,000. Easy to do. Head to chfi.fit. You will see an online auction there as well. There's some fantastic prizes you can bid on. You can walk away with something great here tonight. Walk, run, jog, whatever. We're trying to get this country in motion. And while you're there, you will see an opportunity to donate. There's also another step along the way beyond this evening. And while we're looking at the big picture, there's another goal, and it's to create this fantastic hut-to-hut trail system across this country, galvanizing Canadians from coast to coast. It's a $600 million project, and like every long journey, CHFI's begins with a single step. That's why we're here tonight. This is the first step, but this is another step along the way. And we will talk to you about ways you can get involved, ways you can help with the bigger goal of making Canada the fittest nation on earth by 2030 throughout the course of the night. But it's now time for me to step aside and make way for Her Excellency, the Governor General of Canada, Julie Payette.
Hello, my name is Julie Payette, and I am the Governor General of Canada. And I'm also a sport and fitness enthusiast and a proud patron of the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute. En tant que présidente d'honneur de l'Institut canadien de la santé et de l'activité physique, je suis heureuse de vous savoir réunis virtuellement et physiquement pour certains d'entre vous à Vancouver pour soutenir la santé physique. Like you, I believe in the adage, mens sana in corpore sano, un esprit sain dans un corps sain, that a healthy body and a healthy mind go hand in hand, and that keeping fit is a responsibility as well as a must. I'm what you could call a disciple of physical activity, and I'm quite proud of it. In my youth, I competed in track, badminton, handball, European handball that is, and triathlon. And I still make physical activity part of my daily routine, carrying my running shoes and my yoga mat everywhere I go. But as Governor General, I also have the chance to travel across the country and meet Canadians. I take this opportunity to share my passion for fitness through an initiative that we've developed in my office. We call it GG Active. Simply put, whenever we go somewhere in Canada, we choose an activity to do at this location, and we invite the local population to join us. It's not only healthy, it's a lot of fun. We've walked in Whitehorse, Gaspé, and Lunenburg, hiked Signal Hill in Newfoundland, canoed in a lake in Flin Flon, cycled the streets of Victoria, skated in North Vancouver, and cross-country skied in Thunder Bay, to name just a few. Unfortunately, we're not traveling as much these days because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But if you have a good idea of a sport or physical activity we should do in the future, please make sure to let us know. This global pandemic has affected every aspect of our lives, and we must follow the public health directives now more than ever and remain vigilant until a vaccine becomes available. But that should not stop us from finding creative ways to stay fit. The summer months made it easier to get outside, but with the fall and soon the winter approaching and distancing measures still in place, people will have to find other ways to get moving. I'm not worried because a little snow or a little cold won't stop us Canadians from taking advantage of the season. It is important that all of us spread the message and encourage people around us to get moving and to go out and play. Tous les moyens sont bons pour encourager les gens à intégrer l'activité physique à leur quotidien et à les inciter à bouger pour leur santé, pour leur bien-être, mais aussi pour leur plaisir. Today's gala, presented both in person at Mahoney's & Son in Vancouver and through virtual means, is an opportunity to spark discussion about how fitness and a healthy living can make a difference in people's lives. It is also a way to support the Institute and its many projects aimed at improving the physical and mental health of all Canadians. I know that the Institute is working hard to make Canada the fittest country by 2030. Well, you can count me in to support that. Before I leave you, I would like to offer my heartfelt congratulations to Dr. Jack Taunton, recipient of the Institute's Lifetime Achievement Award, for his lifelong dedication to sports and fitness. That is a most deserved recognition. To everyone in attendance and everyone watching, thank you for contributing to the promotion of active health, la santé active, and for encouraging Canadians across the country to adopt healthy lifestyle. Ensemble, faisons du Canada le pays le plus actif et le plus en santé de la planète. I wish you all the very best. Merci. Thank you. Au revoir. Stay fit.
Our thanks to Her Excellency, the Governor General of Canada, Julie Payette, throwing her support behind this evening, behind this initiative as well. And as you heard, we are building this evening toward awarding the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute to Dr. Jack Taunton, who you're going to hear a lot about throughout the course of the evening. We've got some great interviews coming your way. You're going to hear from multiple Olympians, a veteran of the World Cup, someone who's been getting this country up and running for years now, and someone who has wheeled his way across the globe. Before we get to that, you heard about the lofty goal, and you heard about how we're trying to get Canadians on board throughout the course of the evening. For more on that, let's turn things over to the founder of the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute and one of the Board of Advisory members as well. Let's hear from former MP John Weston and from Advisory Board member Mike Mahoney. So we're going to meet a lot of the faces who have already pledged their support to the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute tonight, but why don't we meet some of the brains behind the operation? I say some because there are a lot of brains behind this operation. My pleasure to be standing here tonight, socially distanced, of course, with John Weston and Mike Mahoney. John, you, of course, are the founder. Mike, you're part of the advisory board. And maybe let's start with you, John. It's one thing to say, hey, let's make Canada the fittest nation on the planet. That's a great concept. How do you get from that idea to where we are today?
Well, it's an extraordinary, ambitious idea, and it's not something you do alone. So the first thing I've discovered is you have to be working with great people. And what a pleasure to be working with people like Mike Mahoney, to have the guests that we have this evening, you know, celebrity panelists who are really champions of health and fitness. What I love about the people we're meeting tonight is that they're not just champions of sport or health and fitness, but they stand for values, values that you talk about when you're trying to change a nation. And we need some change. We live in a wonderful country. I think anybody who lives in Canada has to be proud of it. But there's so many things that we need to change. The sedentary behavior that has become characteristic of our generation has led to all of these problems that are well documented: cardiovascular disease, diabetes, overweightness, the spiraling healthcare costs, and we have to break the cycle. So what we're doing isn't working. Therefore, we've set this goal and we've set a deadline. Just like you said, Scott, make Canada the fittest nation on earth by 2030. So we're steadfastly heading in that direction. We've got a lot to do, but we've got some specific plans, and as I said, fabulous people to work with.
Yeah, and John, you mentioned one of them, Mike. You're someone who jumped on board. John obviously used his network to get you involved as well, and I imagine that's part of tonight's endeavor and what you're behind as well. How do people get involved with this?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. It's super exciting time, obviously, working with this great group. Recognizing, you know, we want to re-coach the coaches and re-educate the educators. And tonight's about everybody. Everybody can watch this event tonight, be a part of this tonight. So, you know, spread the word as you're watching, be a part of this great event with great speakers coming together sport, physical, mental, spiritual health, all of it. So it's really a wonderful time.
Yeah, and that means individuals, Mike, as well as businesses, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, a lot of industries have been crushed in the last 6 or so months, and we're looking to provide solutions for not only the businesses, but to partner with them to help participate in revitalizing our communities. So help us help you. Let's help your business. Let's bring eyeballs and customers to you, and at the same time, help revitalize all these great communities across Canada.
As mentioned, businesses and individuals. John, and one of the great individuals we're going to hear from later, and we're honoring here tonight, Dr. Jack Taunton. How is he, this is a guy who's been doing it for years, but how is he such an inspiration and such a real touch point for you in all of this?
Well, you've got a resume that speaks volumes. Here's a person who was the co-creator of sport medicine in Canada, who launched the Vancouver Sun Run, the Vancouver Marathon, and was Canada's top physician during the 2010 Olympic and Paralympic Games. But you know, that's just the beginning of the story. This is a guy who gets up early in the morning and thinks, how can he heal other people? He's the doctor's doctor. He really sees the problems that we have in Canada, and he sees the potential. So he was an early adopter of this whole Make Canada Fittest Nation on Earth by 2030. And he's encouraging us all. The first person in the morning you're going to get your email from is Dr. Jack, encouraging you. He'll be out on his walk. Here's a guy who ran world-class time marathons, who nowadays walks with poles because he's had various surgeries, but it won't stop him. Do you hear him whining or complaining? He says, no. Get off the couch, walk, run, do it for your immunity system, do it for somebody else, bring someone along for the ride, make Canada a better place, make yourself a better person. What a hero.
Yeah, and Mike, I know that's a guy that you have run into over the years, and Dr. Jack Taunton has been influential in your own life.
Yeah, 100%. I look at Jack as the terminator of giving. Really, the most amazing thing about Jack is you would think somebody like this would be untouchable or hard to get a hold of or have the time to talk with, and magically Jack has the time for everybody all day long. There's no secretary, there's no line of defense. It's call me, email me, I'll get in touch with you, and it doesn't end. When I think of the word giving, I think of Jack Taunton as a mentor and leaving a legacy for all of us to follow behind and do more to help each other.
And you know, what Mike said is so right. We're going to see people tonight like Lynn Kanuka, whom he coached at a time when she had a fracture in her hip. He coached her through that year to a bronze medal in the 1984 Olympic Games. It's an unbelievable story. And she's an undying fan of Dr. Jack. And you know, this world of Dr. Jack, the friends of Dr. Jack, it's far and wide because of stories like that.
Yeah, it certainly is. And hey, he's somebody who lives it, doesn't just say it. And that's what we're all about here tonight. We're going from us talking to getting you walking, getting you running, getting you involved in a variety of capacities. We're going to give you ways to do that tonight. Thank you guys both for doing this, and we will be touching on that throughout the course of the evening with our celebrity guests. I think I recognize that last guy who was talking, and one of the great things, as we just mentioned there, from an organizational point of view, obviously, John and Mike are very involved, but they live it as well. John recently, prior to everything that has gone on in our world, qualified for the Boston Marathon, so he looks forward to running that in the future. Mike is an accomplished soccer player over the years and continues to be active. I believe he's honing his beer mile skills from month to month as we speak. I'd like to give a shout out to our first sponsor of the evening as well, Fasken's Law Firm. Fasken is a full-service law firm with more than 750 lawyers, a proud sponsor of CHFI. We applaud its vision to enhance the health and wellness of all Canadians. Fasken has jumped on board. You have the opportunity here tonight as well. We're presenting some incredible interviews, more of which you're going to hear in just a couple of minutes, but you have an opportunity to donate here this evening and help us march toward $50,000. I told you at the beginning of this broadcast that we're already more than halfway there. You can help whatever amount you have to donate. If you would like to get in on our online silent auction as well, there's some fantastic items to bid on, and you could be walking away a winner in very short time. We got some celebrity interviews coming your way, and you're going to recognize these people. They are people that you have cheered for as Canadians to get to the top of the podium, and one of our next interviews has. We also have someone who's been helping getting this country running, getting this country moving for years as well. And our first interview of the next three that you're going to see is a man that wheeled his way across this planet, the man in motion, Rick Hansen. Being the fittest country on the planet, it is a lofty goal, but if there's anyone who knows about lofty goals, it is Rick Hansen who joins us now, and we're privileged to have him here with us. And Rick, it's such a multifaceted approach to health here, and you know that as well as anybody. So when you look forward 10 years and you look at the goal of being the fittest country on the planet, in your dream world, Rick, what does that look like?
You know, what it looks like is, first of all, is that we have a clear goal on what that actually means. We have the metrics to be able to measure it. And most importantly, we've got the ability to inspire and empower Canadians to have access to the best information, knowledge, and practitioners to be able to actually engage and become healthy, fit, and well. And that's the magic. And, you know, in today's world, we're often so busy and isolated, and we just don't know what's out there, and we often don't feel and give ourselves permission to be able to invest in our own health and wellness so that we can work our magic in our careers or in our communities and, of course, in our families.
Well, and Rick, you're somebody who knows about overcoming those challenges and overcoming hurdles. And one of the hurdles that a lot of people are facing right now, some of it's tied to kids and that next generation, but I think everybody goes through this, that hurdle of getting outside and being physically active and how much that impacts your mental health. Let's start there. You went through this. There were days that were extremely challenging on the tour around this planet. How closely do you think mental health and physical health are tied together?
Well, they're inextricably linked. There's no question that how we think and feel is reflected in how our body responds and vice versa. And so if we can energize and feed our bodies appropriately with food, with the appropriate exercise and movement and general health, it reflects in our moods. But if we can also stay positive and intentional about our health, then it drives back in to our ability to move into a regime of investment in ourselves and be accountable for that and take power and control versus feeling like we're on the back end as a victim of a machine or a schedule, or that we assign too much credit and power to being busy versus being effective and whole.
You mentioned machines and you mentioned power, and certainly technology these days with machines is very powerful. And getting on the phone or simply sitting down and watching a show or dialing up something on television, it's so easy to do. It's not always easy to get outside. How do we overcome that hurdle, Rick? How do we get kids, how do we get any of us outside and get past that hurdle?
Yeah, the first piece is to be conscious and aware that where we seem to be at the moment, and typically, you know, Canadians are in an environment where we're, first of all, more sedentary. We're sitting so much. I mean, I sit all the time almost, and I can't control that, but I can control the fact that, you know, that while I'm in business, I'm commuting and I'm in front of a desk and in front of a computer, or I'm traveling on an airplane, or engaged in various ways that are relatively sedentary. I can then counteract that, and I can actually engage. I can get into positions that I'm out of my wheelchair, and I can be active, and I can introduce customized levels of exercise that fit into my lifestyle, my career, my ability, and keep on that momentum and that journey. And so I think what people need to do in order to be able to make the transformation is be aware, be accountable, set those goals, and don't expect to achieve amazing things overnight. Don't put your goals so high and then realize that, you know, after day 3, you're hurting or you've overdone it. You know, it's really not going to be very productive. And so just be in the zone, take baby steps. Little bits every day are way better than try to blow yourself out in 3 days and then you're done for a month.
Well, that's such a powerful message coming from you. You've been an inspiration to millions, and you're a great example of people saying, well, if that person can overcome an obstacle, why can't I do something? Jack Taunton, Dr. Jack Taunton, he is a great example of that as well. And I would just love your perspective, Rick, on how you think sharing his story with people who maybe don't know it can serve as an inspiration for what we're working towards.
Well, sharing stories about people and their successes, their attitudes, their insight, it's really a human nature, and it's so powerful. You know, one of my good friends was a fellow named Gary McPherson, who was in the health and fitness and wellness industry, and he had polio, and he couldn't move anything really except one leg that he could extend. So he was in a wheelchair for his entire life, and he was out on the Butterdome in Edmonton doing laps, pushing his wheelchair backwards with that one good leg. Now, Jack Taunton, he also had polio, and he managed to have a relatively full recovery and then went on to push himself to be an outstanding athlete. He decided that he would actually get into the field of sport, fitness, medicine, integrate all of his passion into paying it forward to others. And he stayed on the learning curve for his entire career. Even to this day, he's still learning, seeking, stretching out, taking action, innovating. And Jack Taunton has faced many, many challenges in his life as well. He has had, heart challenges that came out of the blue. He's had arthritis. He's had many, many pains, surgeries, and spinal issues that have decreased his mobility. And yet, I was talking to him the other day, and I asked him how he's doing, and he said, well, I'm into my third hour of walking with my sticks and canes. He's transformed from a quote, world-class athlete, but to still an athlete. He's just adapted to his circumstances, and he hasn't been trapped or handicapped based on a historic or irrelevant notion of what fitness really is. Nike had it right when they said, if you have a body, you're an athlete. And I don't care if you can't move anything, if you're a Stephen Hawking or a Gary McPherson or a Jack Taunton, everybody has a body. Everybody has the ability to take control over what they can do, not on what they can't do, and then ultimately express that to be healthy, vibrant, and whole.
Very well said. And you mentioned the word passion. You certainly have it, and we're glad that you're lending it to this. Thank you very much for your words here, Rick.
Thank you. What an incredible initiative and a tremendous day for everybody.
He is the man in motion. He's going to help get this country more in motion. My pleasure to be joined by the founder of the Running Room, a man synonymous with running in this country, John Stanton. And John, thank you very much for doing this. And it does come during an interesting time, given the fact we're even doing this interview the way we are right now. I would just love to hear from you, John. I know for myself personally, I feel so much better every single day when I get outside and go for a walk or go for a run. It really helps me mentally for the rest of the day. What is the interconnection you see between mental health and physical health?
Well, there's a profound impact on people when we exercise. There's been many studies done by universities and healthcare professionals that validates that exercise, walking, running, cycling, swimming, any of those that you choose, have a profound effect on your mental health, your physical health, and your spiritual health. Everybody knows that you can come home from work stressed out with the burdens of the day on you, and you feel tired and fatigued. And, if you can convince yourself to go for a 20 to 30 minute run, walk, bike, swim, you'll come back invigorated. You'll discover that you were physically not tired. You were mentally fatigued, and your mental fatigue can be rejuvenated through exercise, and it has a positive effect on us. We know that when we exercise, it improves our clarity of thinking. We make more profound, concise, clear decisions when we exercise. It allows us, when we go out and we're faced with a problem, whether it be a personal problem, a professional problem, or some problem in the community you're trying to resolve in a community action. And when you go for a run or a walk, often we look at it and say, wow, the answer is so simple. Why am I stewing over trying to find a solution? Or you'll go for a run or walk and say, gee, I don't have an answer for that just yet either, but I'm going to enjoy my run and walk. And you come back rejuvenated and ready to take on the other challenges in your life.
Well, it's a really good point. And we talk about technology. We're using it right now, in fact, to do this. And we know there's a very useful purpose, but sometimes it becomes overwhelming. And I know that's a challenge that faces a lot of parents, a lot of kids in this country as well. You talk about convincing yourself to get outside. What's your best advice for helping get the younger generation, for anybody really, John, off of their phones and somewhere outside?
Well, I think we need, as human beings, we're social creatures, and today we're all attached to technology. With all the changes going on in the world right now, many of us have discovered that the other avenues of technology and some of the vital portions of it. When we exercise, often we end up having to do that alone. And when we do exercise alone, or we do it with somebody that is from our same household, we can go out and we can communicate and we can exercise. Parents can go out with kids, and where sometimes you're having a difficult conversation across a kitchen table to have a discussion about something. When you're out there running or walking or cycling, you're two athletes just out there experiencing nature. And it's amazing sometimes the kind of conversation you can have and the inhibitions that are dropped. And it's no longer parent and child or husband and wife. It's hard to argue when when you're out there exercising together, and you think more positively. You become more creative in your thinking. So I think it has a profound effect on us mentally when we're out there. But when we get into a regular routine of exercise, it just proves that we start to reap the benefits. We have a higher energy level. We have more positive in our thinking, and it affects all aspects of our lives. We start to sleep better. We make better decisions on nutrition. When you exercise regularly, you start thinking about what you're eating. When you don't exercise and you're feeling sorry for yourself, you reward yourself with the kind of foods that you shouldn't be eating sometimes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you mentioned it earlier how all of this is so interconnected, and mental health is connected to physical health, and that's connected to spiritual health as well. You've been ahead of the curve. You've been trying to get Canadians up and moving and running and walking for a very long time now. When you look at the future of this country and the goal to become the fittest country on the planet, what does your ideal Canada look like from that perspective, John?
Well, it involves all of us. At the running room, we've done a pretty good job. We've got nearly 1 million people mobilized in Canada. But when you got over 30 million people in Canada, there's still a lot of work to be done. And there's a lot of people that are not exercising at the level that they should be. And the responsibility doesn't lie with the government. It doesn't lie with industry. It doesn't lie with the healthcare professionals. It doesn't lie with community services. The responsibility is all of us working together in a combined effort to make sure that we get people out and show them the benefits of being active. I firmly believe that it starts with the family unit. That if we could gather like we do, today with technology, people don't even gather for meals anymore at common times. So often people, because they're working different schedules and working different hours, and we're involved in our sports and we're involved in other activities, sometimes we don't gather as a unit. And if you could once a week gather as a unit, like you do at a Sunday dinner, gather as a unit for some exercise, that would help get people mobilized. We need to show our children that exercise is a profound part of their learning process. This generation of children will be a generation that will not outlive their parents. And it's a tragedy unfolding in our country. We have to do something about it. And the onus is a responsibility of everybody working together. There's a lot of great resources. We're a great resource when it comes to running and walking. There's great resources when it comes to team sports. There's great resources when it comes to nutrition and healthcare. But we need a common meeting point so that people can come to a resource center and we can all work together for the mutual benefit of all Canadians.
Well, and when people come together, they talk and they share stories. And one that we're sharing here tonight with the Lifetime Achievement Award going to Dr. Jack Taunton is what an inspiration he's been. In your opinion, John, and I know you've worked closely with Dr. Jack in the past, how can sharing his story, how can bringing more visibility to it help inspire future generations?
Well, Jack Taunton epitomizes what being athletic is about. And all of us need to think about being an athlete. Jack Taunton was a high performance marathon runner. Jack Taunton went on as a high performance sports medicine person. He's noted around the world for his various studies and his research that he's done. He's passionate about what he does. As he's aged, as we all age, we slow down. The aging process takes its toll on us. But you can still be active at every age. You can still be proactive in getting other people to enjoy the sport and enjoy the lifestyle benefits that we have from it. And to do it based on science, to make sure that people are given the information in clear, concise manner, in simplistic terms that are easy to understand, but yet are backed and proven by science. And that's what Jack Taunton epitomizes. And he lives the lifestyle as well as preaches it.
Well, you certainly do as well, and we really appreciate you being a big part of this initiative here tonight. Thank you very much for doing this, John. We'll talk again soon, and we'll try to catch up with you wherever we're running around this country.
Okay, well, let's get Canada all up and running.
We will certainly do that. Great words. That is the founder of the Running Room, John Stanton. As we all collectively look to put Canada on top of the podium here in 10 years, why not bring in someone who's been on top of the podium? Gold medalist from 2010, Ashley McIver, joining us here for the event. And Ashley, let's just start with you being at the top of the world and Canada trying to get there as well. It's a pretty big vision trying to put together being on top of the world when it comes to health. And we mean spiritual health, we mean mental health, we mean physical health. When Ashley McIver looks 10 years in the road and she thinks of Canada being on top of the world, what does that vision look like to you?
Well, it's a great question, Scott. Thank you. And I'm so pleased that this National Health and Fitness Initiative has expanded to explicitly address the mental and the spiritual health too. I personally have always relied on sports and outdoor adventure for my own well-being. It's kind of a Whistler kid thing to be obsessed with gravity-fed, dangerous sports. But as my parents always say, it kept us out of trouble. Sports injuries heal up, and mental illness is a lot more complicated. But it wasn't until I grew up and developed an awareness of just how powerful healthy, active living can be for our mental and emotional and spiritual health. So to answer your question, my dream is that the next generation will figure that all out, long before they're our age. I think the impact of physical activity is easy to see and understand and feel compelled to devote time and energy to from a young age. It's the mental and spiritual health benefits that are kind of lost on some. And until we take a moment to, sit down and reflect, and we learn to channel our experiences, even just the fleeting moments of joy, excitement, accomplishment, and ultimate fulfillment, which are often sandwiched between fear and relief if you're an extreme athlete. But, others will notice this pattern and that whole range of emotions featuring in daily life too. But until we learn to channel the nerves and the endorphins and that blast of adrenaline we feel when we're living on the edge of our comfort zones into a pathway of empowerment and vitality and inner peace, physical activity can just feel a bit like energy output. So my dream is for Canadians to recognize physical activity and the associated discomfort, it doesn't have to be pain, as a pathway to our yes brain, like that positive state of mind from which we see the world and our troubles or, the challenges we face in day-to-day life as manageable, or better yet, as opportunities for growth. And, we see the beauty in the scenery and the strength in people around us. And we just, see the world as a wonderful place, and we're able to gain energy from that. I think, that's what it takes to succeed.
Well, and as you just described, they all work hand in hand together, those three pillars of health. So for someone who has been at the top of the world physically and mentally, how do you believe that physical health is important to mental health?
Yeah, I think that, the research shows the two go hand in hand. And I personally feel such an improvement. Sorry, it's a bit windy here. You know, it's such a significant improvement in my own outlook from just a few minutes of exercise. You know, sometimes I find myself thinking everything seems unmanageable, and you know, these goals I'm trying to accomplish seem totally overwhelming. And I know now that that's my cue to get up and get active. It's like, you know, literally 10 minutes of physical activity, and I'm thinking, oh, here's the solution to this, and this really isn't a big deal at all, and now this is totally clear. I can't believe I was even worrying about that. So it's really you know, the power of physical activity on our mental well-being is you know, it's hard to even measure or put into words. So the important thing is just learning to schedule it in.
Well, and I think that's a great point, Ashley. And I think most people who are watching this would agree, hey, you get out for a walk, you get out for some type of activity, and you just feel better about yourself mentally as well. The obstacle, of course, is getting from the couch or putting down the phone and getting outside. How do we get people, how do we get kids to do that?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to kids in particular, I think kids are naturally active. You know, you let them run and they will run. So it's on us to take it upon ourselves to put our phones away and you know, meet them where they're at, and ideally connect with them ourselves through sports and adventure and physical activity. And if that's not possible, put them in programs that are led by people who are doing just that, and encourage connections with friends who inspire them to be active. You know, again, it's just scheduling. Make it a priority and schedule it in. I think honestly, what's more concerning to me is the aging baby boomers. You know, it's getting harder and harder for them to stay active, and you know, they must take the initiative to get up and get out there and get off the couch. And I think that is also on us to help them with creative ideas for getting motivated and looking forward to taking that first step in the right direction daily. So like you said, you know, it's as simple as you know, taking that first step, which might be getting to the gym. And you know, when I was training for the Olympics, it was a daunting, you know, idea to think about this huge workout that was ahead. And so I just tell myself, just get there, just get to the gym, get on the stationary bike, start spinning. And, you know, by the time I was warmed up, then I was like, okay, I'll just do one set of whatever squats, and okay, I'll just do one more. And I think it's like that mental block, or that mental, you know, people are waving at me. Just you know, the ability to just, like you said, take that first step and get there makes it all sort of flow more seamlessly.
Well, you make a great point, because there's lots of kids that look up to Olympic athletes or professional athletes, and they use that as inspiration. But it's those other generations that maybe aren't as active that need somebody to look up to. And maybe that's a nice segue into Dr. Jack Taunton, who's been so active. How do you think helping share his story can serve as an inspiration across the generations?
Well, I mean, of course, we all need great role models, and Dr. Taunton's extensive, educated, and evidence-based contribution to Canadian sport, along with his dedication to the development of sport programming, really sets the bar high when it comes to inspirational leaders in our you know, in our nation's health and fitness.
Ashley, great words. Thank you so much for being a part of this tonight. And hey, we had you on top of the world in 2010. You put Canada there. I know you're going to help us get Canada on top of the world in 2030.
I'll do my best. Thanks so much, Scott.
Fantastic words from a woman who will always be golden in this country, the running man of Canada, and of course, the man in motion, Rick Hansen, who got those interviews started. A big thank you to our second sponsor of the evening, Centaur Sports Contracting. Centaur Products is a very proud sponsor of the CHFI Gala this evening. For the last 47 years, Centaur has become Canada's most experienced sport contractor, specializing in project management, provision, installation, and servicing of a wide range of sports facility flooring, seating, and equipment. Thank you very much to Centaur Sport Contracting. As I've mentioned throughout the course of this evening, CHFI, the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute, it's a charity. So we cannot function without the generosity of supporters like you who are joining us here tonight across this country. Our target is $50,000, and we are getting closer as this evening rolls on. A generous donor is prepared to match up to $50,000 if we can get there. I mentioned this earlier, I'll say it again. Any amount helps. Anything you can donate to help make us the fittest country on earth by 2030. That is the goal of the CHFI. We're not far off. Let's push it across the finish line. You can head to chfi.fit to donate now. And without further ado, we're going to head to some more interviews. We have another Olympic medalist from Canada coming your way. We also have a World Cup of Soccer veteran, and we're going to bookend these interviews with Canucks. One, a Canuck on the ice. The other, a crazy Canuck. Ken Reid gets us started. My pleasure to welcome to the proceedings one of the crazy Canucks. Ken Reid did this country so proud in the downhill back in the day. Ken, thank you very much for doing this, and let's just dive right into it here. Canadians' spiritual health, mental health, physical health. I know you're a big advocate of it, or you wouldn't be doing this here tonight. When you look at Canada and the way you want this country to look from a physical fitness, mental fitness, and spiritual fitness point of view, what does Ken Reid's ideal Canada look like?
Well, Scott, first of all, thank you for welcoming me in and being and it's great to be able to be a part of this. The vision of what I would like to see our country be for all ages, from youngsters right to seniors, is to be the fittest nation on earth. That we're all active, that we are all out, we are enjoying what our country has to offer, both in nature, recreationally, and indoor. That we take full advantage of everything that our great nation has to provide us, and through that, make sure that each and every one of us has a fit, full lifestyle.
Well, it sounds like a lofty goal, and it is, but it's also an achievable one. But it all starts with us all doing our part, and that means getting off the couch, getting outside, and that can be a challenge today, Ken, with technology, especially with the younger generation. What's your advice for getting people off of their phones and getting them involved in physical fitness?
Well, it's a tough challenge in this day and age where lives are busy, people have their jobs, families want to try to remain close, but physical recreation, whether it's in organized sport, whether it's through your own passions of getting out and enjoying recreation, or just simply making a priority that you decide it's good for your mental health, but also to have a fuller life. And it takes a bit of discipline, but that discipline can become something that is a habit, and a habit that you enjoy. So if you make sure that you set aside every day a little bit of time, whether it's to go for a walk, go for a run, get on a bike, get out there and just say, it is part of my daily routine, whether I'm at school, all grades at school, at university, but you're a parent, and senior. Just simply make it a priority, that an important part of everything that I do in the day. And if I don't do it, I don't feel good. And that's the whole great benefit, is not only do you feel better, but then you get to enjoy some pretty spectacular parts of our country.
Well, you're right about that. And I know that when I feel better physically, it helps me feel better mentally as well. You did this at the highest level, and you needed to have that mental health and mental precision. How are, in your opinion, mental and physical health tied together closely?
The two, mental and physical health, are inextricably. The fact that you want to remain sharp, you want to remain have good an active mind, and the fact that in fact one of my discipline every day is that I like to either go for a walk, go for a hike, or get on my bike and ride, or go skiing, cross country, alpine skiing, because that break, whether it's a short one, even 30 minutes, or a longer one, maybe a full day, I can think better. So in fact, jumping on my bike, even if it's for just 45 minutes or an hour, it's refreshing. It allows you to, I often say, it allows my left brain to take over the creative side. That recreation gives you a mental break. That's how inextricable they are. And then alternatively, the health side, the health benefits that flow from having good physical fitness. But it lends itself back to the mental health, which is so critical that the two are intertwined. Whether you're an elite athlete, and maybe that's the discipline I learned as an elite athlete, but it's something that I'm 40 years removed from being an active athlete, and it's something that is definitely part of my daily routine.
Well, we all need a catalyst for it at some point in time, and stories like yours and other pro athletes and those who've represented our country are so important. Dr. Jack Taunton is being honored here tonight. His story is a very unique one. It's a very inspiring one. How do you think sharing his story can help inspire future generations?
Well, Jack has done it for a lifetime. So that's number one. That he has throughout his entire life, he's made his own personal contribution, both as an athlete, as a recreational athlete, and as a professional. With Dr. Taunton right now, is that he, as he is a senior like myself, we are a good example to a very large group of Canadians right now. That as you get older and into later life, you can maintain a very, very active lifestyle that will help you enjoy your retirement and be able to, now that you have the time, go out and enjoy going hiking, going walking, going out into the outdoors, into the mountains, out into the prairies, into the river valleys, wherever it may be. So Jack remains an incredible example to us all.
Yeah, he most certainly is. And as you mentioned, it helps you enjoy your time more when you have stories like that. Thank you very much, Ken, for sharing your time with us here.
It's a pleasure, and I certainly hope that Canada, get out there and let's make Canada the #1 fitness nation in the world.
We'll do it. It sounds like an uphill battle, but from a guy who spent his life getting to the top of the mountain, thanks for your help and helping all of us get there, and then we'll cruise downhill together. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
I think we can all agree that a lot of us want to follow the proper direction. So what do you need for that? You need a leader. And why not bring in one of the great leaders in recent Vancouver sporting history, the former captain of the Vancouver Whitecaps, Jay DeMerit, joining me here this evening. And Jay, let's just talk a little bit about your journey and how it relates to what we're trying to do now. Anybody who knows a little about you, they know that put a field in front of you growing up and you would be on it playing whatever sport. How do we get back to that? How do we get kids outside playing again instead of on their phones, on tech?
Well, I think you do that in a number of ways. One is first understand what they want to get outside to do. And again, we're no longer in a time of community centers or public school playgrounds. We don't do that anymore. And unfortunately, that's been taken away by, having parents have to drive 2 hours one way to make sure that their academy program gets served. And again, that creates a certain high performance level, but it takes the child away from the child. And I think we need to find ways to put the child back into children. And again, I don't just mean 4-year-olds, I mean 14-year-olds and up to those types of ages. I think we need to bring multi-activity back. I don't just mean multi-sports. I mean, why can't a kid play basketball and go do art? Why can't he be a rap artist and a scientist? Why can't he? Or why can't she? And this is I think one of the biggest issues is we're not creating complementary programs, and we're certainly not creating well-rounded kids.
And on that subject, complementary programs, just complementary elements of health, physical, mental, spiritual. You've been at the highest level. You've represented the United States at the World Cup of Soccer. So in your opinion, how important to mental health is physical health?
I think they're completely reciprocal. I think you can't have one without the other. I think they feed each other. Again, I wouldn't say one way or the other. I would say that they are reciprocal and they're symbiotic in their relationship. And I think that when you consciously feed both sides of that, you will see more of a holistically whole person. It's just, and the proof is in the pudding. And if you don't do that, then try it. And I guarantee that you will feel better. You will be more clear. You will feel healthier. And then you add things like nutrition and other ways that you can help both your body and your mind, and you're starting to get to this whole point where you start to take care of self, and we talk about these big issues of what's going on right now, and a lot of it is because of that. We're not taking care of ourselves first in order to take care of our community. You can't do that. First you got to be whole, or at least close to whole here, before you can even start to lead out there.
You grew up in the United States, but you've been with us here in Canada for quite some time, and through your actions you're committed to making this a much healthier country, and the goal of CHFI is to make this the fittest country on the planet. In Jay DeMerit's perfect world, in your ideal vision, what does the leader of this world in terms of spiritual, mental, and physical health look like?
Well, again, I think it's having a conversation where all three matter equally, you know, and we don't take one away from each other to grow the other one. I think that's the first step, is just understanding those three things are very important to really creating this whole self or this whole community or whatever it is we're trying to do to be whole, is that you need all three of those things. You can't just be one. And I think trying to understand that better is certainly a way forward. I think, you know, I see a technological bridge between activities and children and what they're doing now. I think and again, I'm in this space through my youth programs and things like that, is creating a digital bridge of understanding and learning where, you know, I'm not trying to tell you to get off your phone. I'm trying to use it to either get outside or use it to actually be smarter instead of learning how to dance with your friend. I get it, but at the end of the day, why aren't we spinning more to the educational route while staying within an entertainment environment? And this is where I think technology is really going to play a key part in that in the future. And then lastly is how we use that technology to better ourselves. Why aren't we having better mental health exercises online? Why can't I call somebody of a mentorship level? You know, there's a lot of mentors in this space right now. There's a lot of, you know, people that would be involved in the night that would easily get on a 30-minute Zoom call with 100 kids tomorrow. But why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we creating those channels? Why aren't we creating a more technologically based society where we can connect a lot more people? And this is where technology can really play a positive part. But at the end of the day, you still have to connect with people. You can't take that away. You can't take humans away. You can't take sports and arts and all these things that connect us as humans. You can't take those away. You can't, because that's really where human connection is based from. It's foundational as to how we create our belief systems. And if we take my interaction with you out of the play because for a lot of reasons, you know, I'm losing half of the ability to be human. And I think that's where a lot of this human future is how do we figure out how to use technology as a betterment for ourselves as humans, but, you know, use it as a way that we can come closer together, not spread ourselves apart.
Well, and you mentioned human connection, and that really is a nice segue into the man who's being honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award here tonight. That's Dr. Jack Taunton. How do you think his story and the man himself serves as an inspiration to what CHFI is trying to do?
Well, first and foremost, it's mentorship. You know, if we're not honoring the people that have been there before us, that have experienced such great feats that Jack has, and we're not learning about that, we're not honoring him, we're not educating the people that are now after him to be like him, we're not doing him a service to the service he provided to everybody else. And I think that is why we honor people. That's why we should use mentorship in all walks of life, and because you never know what you can learn from somebody's story, and his story is incredible. You know, his associations have been top class for 50, 60 years now. You know what I mean? To be at that level for so long, what a great mentor, what a great person to lead our next communities. And it starts by honoring them and making sure that, you know, they're spoken positively for and represented in a way that we'll use their stories, hopefully, to better our futures.
Very well said, Jay, and people like you, thank you very much for this, picking up the torch. Guys like Dr. Jack Taunton, holding it up, passing it on, and guys like Jay DeMerit helping make this the healthiest country on the planet. Always a pleasure. Always gives you great pride to sit down with a Canadian Olympian, and I have that opportunity right now with Lynn Kanuka Williams, who represented Canada at the 1984 Olympics. And Lynn, there's been a lot going on in the last number of years since those Olympics, and you've seen different things in this country, and you're a proud Canadian, and you're proud of your athletic career as well. And when you look at Canadian health moving forward, and you look at Canadian physical activity and fitness, what does your vision look like?
Well, it's not that big of a question. I've been lucky that my world has just revolved around health and wellness. And so my vision for Canadians is that we are healthy in every aspect of the word, in our physical, you know, in our mental, and, you know, spiritually, emotionally. And what does that mean? It's a struggle for some, and it's different depending on where you're coming from, whether you haven't been off the couch in a while or whether you're, you know, at the highest levels of performance as an Olympic athlete. There are struggles, and, you know, as Canadians, I think the way for this to happen is for us to be who we are. We are a supportive nation, and we need to help each other in this way.
Well, and all those aspects you mentioned, spiritual and mental and physical, they all help support each other, and they're all interconnected. over the course of your career, how important is physical health when it comes to mental health?
Oh, well, I know that, and I know you're the same. Like, my day just goes better if I've had some kind of physical movement. And I'm not talking about those years as a high performance athlete. That's an entirely different game. But just physically getting outside in the fresh air, moving my body, breathing the fresh air, my day is just plain gonna go better. Whether it's 10 minutes or whether I have an hour, it makes the difference. And it just moves into that spiritual, emotional, mental side. It is about that I feel better about myself when I move. And you know, those words, they've come up now quite a bit, but I use them in my line of work and in my passion for health and wellness, is that movement really is medicine.
Well, and I know you look at it just from your work and yourself, but also you're a parent and you've got children, and we're dealing with a generation that is coming up with technology that you wouldn't have had when you were young. There's a lot of focus on phones and technology.
Oh.
How do we get kids outside and spending more time doing that than instead of on their phones?
It's true. It's just simply putting those phones down and figuring out something else to do. And that did start in the generation of my own kids. And I'm grateful for for that little battle sometimes is, off that game, we're going outside. We've got our families, we've got those closest to us, and we can make use of those connections and, stop with the electronics and get moving.
Well, and some of that has to do with family. Sometimes you need inspiration from elsewhere. You inspired Canadians with what you did representing our country. Jack Taunton, he's being honored tonight. How important is his story, and how inspirational can it be to that next generation?
Oh, Dr. Jack, oh my gosh, a pioneer. He and Dr. Doug Clement, they were so fortunate. They were my mentors. They were people that were my coaches, my doctors, my friends. And, they did have that vision of health and wellness, for which I was really lucky, to kind of be brought along in that way. And, even funny how I look back when I first started to run myself, it was about wellness. It was not about performance. And I look back and I think, what possessed me to go? I'm originally from Saskatchewan, and can't take the prairie girl out of me either, for those of you that know what I'm talking about. And I ran along Wascana Parkway in Saskatchewan in -30, all bundled up, frozen mustache on my face and beard here and the little toque like this. And I felt good. There was something that possessed me to want to move for myself. And for me, that's how it all began. I would have never imagined the pathway. We make those decisions every so often, and changes the course of your life.
Well, I don't blame you from running from Saskatchewan out to the West Coast either.
I knew something was going to come about that.
Lynn, thank you. It's always so much fun to sit down with you. You give us the energy, and thank you very much for doing this tonight. I hope this leads to bigger and better things. Thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Let's make Canada fitter, and let's be the fittest nation in 2030. We can do that.
Well said. Lynn Kanuka-Williams, Olympian and still an inspiration to us here this day. Well, hockey fans are very familiar with this man. He backstopped the Vancouver Canucks to the Stanley Cup final in 1994. My pleasure to be joined by Kirk McLean. And during that Stanley Cup final run, you had to be at your physical best, you had to be at your mental best as well. And maybe that's a good place for us to start. In your opinion, how closely connected is mental health to physical health?
Well, it's a huge part, I believe. Like you said, I think at that time in the playoffs, everybody's pretty much in their physical best, other than injuries. But the mental side comes in. So I really truly believe as we got through there, the better shape you're in, the better mentally you're going to be in, because there's going to be situations where you're going to be physically tired, but if the mental side can carry you through it, you're still thinking clearly, you'll be okay.
Well, and those are so connected right now, and having people physically fit as some sort of advice to Canadians, how do you see those two interconnected? Your physical fitness, making sure that you're active, with making sure that you're doing okay upstairs?
It's still very imperative to be out there and keeping yourself active and off the couch and eating the junk food and clicking the channel changers. We all get caught in that once in a while, but it's especially here in BC, it's such a beautiful city. The seawall's a nice, refreshing place to get out to and smell the the sea air, or the ocean air, and that'll clear you mentally for sure. But you're also getting in that physical activity to get your heart pumping and maintaining some nice physical health.
Well, and it's interesting because people know you for the save, and it almost feels like as a nation we kind of got to save ourselves from ourselves. So how do we? What's your advice to people out there, to kids out there, getting off their phones and getting outside? How do we do that?
Well, definitely getting off your phones, without a doubt. I think, with the kids, the video games and the video Fortnite and all that kind of stuff that they play, I think they need to get outside, get some exercise, whether it's on their bike or just kicking the ball about on the soccer pitch, walking with their parents to the store to pick up groceries or whatever it may be, but doing something. I mean, your kids, they need to be active. They need to be out there moving around, and they're going to be back at school now, so they need some kind of activity. I don't know what's going on within the school community and what they're having for fitness and when they're doing phys ed or anything like that. But after school, if you're in a sport, whether it be football, soccer, lacrosse, or whatever it may be, hockey, continue with something that's going to get that heart pumping. It doesn't have to be overactive. I mean, it's health maintenance and lifestyle, and unless you're one of those few that are gearing towards a professional career and you got to get to that peak level, moving your body, getting your legs moving is great for you.
Well, and I think you mentioned a bunch of different options. It doesn't have to be at the highest level. It can be something really simple, and that helps your mental health. It helps your spiritual health, and obviously it helps your physical health as well. Kirk McLean growing up was very active, always outside. So as you look to the future for this country and you look at those pillars, spiritual health, mental health, and physical health, what does your ideal Canada look like from that standpoint?
Wow. It's a tough question. That's good. Well, ideally, I think we're really lucky out here on the West Coast because it's such a outdoorsy place, and people love to be outdoors, and whether they're doing their hikes in the mountains or they're swimming out in the ocean or in the pools. It's an outdoor biking the seawalls or whatever, mountain biking. It's a lot easier out here because of the climate, but you get into the Midwest, it's pretty tough to do things outdoors in the middle of the winter. So, obviously you got to find a way to get indoors and do something, whether it's on the basketball court or the tennis court or the gymnasium of some sort, ice hockey, whatever you may want to do. But it's tough. It's not easy, that's for sure, because it can get really tough with this pandemic that's going on as well. So, sitting at home. You can do. I'm doing it right now. I've doing a lot of road work as my cardio and just doing home workouts as my my physical part of it, and I'm loving it. I'm not saying that I'll never go back to a gym because it's nice to get back to the gym, but body weight exercises or light dumbbell exercises, what I'm doing now for myself, has been working out great, and I'm enjoying it. It's easy on my bones, and it took a long time, like I mentioned earlier, for me to get away from that peak performance. Just it's a lifestyle for your mental health and your physical health. So, across Canada, just find a way at home. Use books as your weights, or jog on the spot, or whatever you can do to get that heart rate pumping.
Well, really good advice, and I'm sure you would agree, like anybody else, that at some point in time we all need a little inspiration.
Yes.
And you were probably the same, and you've probably inspired many. Dr. Jack Taunton is being honored here tonight. How do you think sharing his story can help inspire future generations and set an example?
Well, I mean, just what went on. I mean, that's inspiring enough. Thanks for saying that I inspired people. I hope I did, but getting the word out there, just being vocal and spreading the word of health and fitness and mental health. We're seeing a lot of that nowadays. The mental health is a big issue and has really come to the forefront. And I really truly believe that if you do get out there and amuse yourself, so to speak, or keep yourself active and busy, it definitely helps on your mental side and clears your mind. And if you can pass that along to others, your buddy or your mom, your dad or your cousin or whoever it may be, it's just going to spread, and it's going to be a roller coaster effect.
Well, thank you very much for doing this and joining in part of this initiative, trying to help make Canada the healthiest and fittest country on the planet.
Well, I truly believe we're on the right track, and like I said, we got a good start here on the West Coast, and if we can spread it across all the way across the country, that'd be awesome.
Captain Kirk, he's got the advice for you. Go practice your patty stackers or whatever it is. Just get fit. That's Kirk McLean. A couple of captains, a couple of Canucks, another Olympic medalist as well, but you don't have to be an elite athlete to be a part of what the CHFI is trying to do. You have to play your role. Make Canada the fittest country on earth by 2030, but we need donations along the way as well, and part of tonight is raising funds. So you can head to chfi.fit. Right now you can donate there, you can bid on online auction items as well, and we're going to get toward that $50,000 goal. Hopefully we're there by the end of this evening. You've heard me talk enough, so let's get somebody else up here to talk right now from the Catalosity Group. Jeff Chaplot, please welcome him to the podium.
Hi, my name is Jeff Chaplot, CEO of the Catalosity Group. It's my pleasure to join you here this evening as we celebrate Dr. Jack Taunton, or Doc Jack, as he is affectionately known to everyone. Jack is an inspiring story and an example to us all in this COVID world for rising above challenges. And I have a ton of stories, but they've told me to limit it to under 3 hours. I first knew Jack as the legendary runner in sport, a marathoner, despite having polio, rising above. I also know Doc Jack through my 30 years in healthcare. Jack is an MD, a leader in health at UBC, founder of the Fortius Group, and the chief medical officer of the 2010 Vancouver Olympic Games, despite having dyslexia. And while the rest of the examples here are Canadian, Jack has an insatiable desire, an ability to help those globally. From hospitals in Uganda to recovering athletes globally, Doc Jack truly rises above in health and fitness globally. On behalf of the Catalosity Group and CHFI, it's our pleasure to help recognize Doc Jack with this computer and with this tribute video in this Lifetime Achievement Award to him. Jack, you're my hero, you're a legend, and you're a person who inspires us all to rise above. We now turn this attention to this incredible story of you on this tribute video. Thank you, Jack.
Dr. Jack.
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 Jack Taunton has done it all. He's a scientist, he's an athlete, he's a recreational person, he's a community supporter. He believes in the people, and he's a mentor to many people and in many faceted aspects of the sport of running. When you think of running in Canada, anytime you do a research paper, the name Jack Taunton is going to come up.
Most people who have a computer can know that Jack Taunton started the Vancouver Sun Run. He started the Vancouver Marathon. He was the co-creator of sport medicine in Canada and the top physician for Canada in the Olympic and Paralympic Games. But I think the distinguishing feature about Dr. Jack is how he lets the little ones come to him. It's not just about the lions on the sport field, all of whom know him and whom he can rub shoulders with. He's got time for somebody new on the scene, somebody young, somebody just coming up. And for me, that's a true leader.
I think I spoke at the BC Sport Conference, and he was there, and I didn't even know he knew who I was. I would run into him at Fortius or kind of one of those medical centers. We'd have a quick interaction, but he came up to me after I gave a speech there, and he came up to me afterwards, and he said, "Thank you so much for being a great leader of our community." And to have a guy like that say that to me was an incredible honor, because I knew his history and knew that he came from a place that was to be commended.
Oh my goodness, Jack, I can't count the ways that you have been instrumental in the lives of so many people, from people that, I personally have been involved with through my work at SportMed BC, getting people off couches and getting them to do walking and learn to run programs. And right there at the helm, who is there but, Dr. Jack.
Jack is a never give up attitude, a positive thinker, an I can do it attitude that allowed him to recover from his surgery and the challenges that he had. But he continued to exuberate good health and good fitness along the way.
And he's always improving, never ever stopping. He is the guy and the man in motion.
Jack, you're the man. We thank you, we salute you, we honor you tonight, and I just want to say congratulations to you and to Cheryl for everything you've done for all of us across the country. You're the best.
Is there an event or a project connected to sport, people, health, and wellness? Call Dr. Jack. He'll be involved, whether it's finding a sponsor or being on an organizing committee, and all of us have such stories, and for that, we do thank you.
Thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for your example. Thank you for your contribution to our athletes for decades. Congratulations on this very, very deserving award.
Congratulations on your Lifetime Achievement Award. It's well-deserved one, but it's people like you that keep people like me going. If it's not for you type of doctors that mend us up and help us out with our health, we wouldn't be here thanking you for what you're doing. So enjoy your night, and congratulations again.
So congratulations to you, Jack, on the Lifetime Achievement Award. Very, very well deserved.
Jack, I just want to say a big congratulations to a very well-deserved honor. No one's done it better. No one has led with more fierceness and an ability to do it not just for himself, but selflessly. And so congratulations on all of your success and a well-deserved honor.
Well, congratulations, Jack Taunton. You're a fine individual, a great mentor and motivator for the whole running community. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your leadership and continued success in everything you do.
Jack, I just want to congratulate you on achieving the Lifetime Achievement Award. This recognition for the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute is absolutely spectacular, well-deserved, and I couldn't think of a better person to be recognized to inspire so many others of what's possible. You have the ingredients of commitment to excellence, lifelong learning, and always thinking of new innovations and solutions. You've made a difference to me in my life, my career, and so many others. I want to say thank you. Enjoy this moment. We love you dearly.
He and Cheryl together are relentless in encouraging not only themselves, but other people. They're selfless. They're the doctors, the coaches. So I just want to say congratulations, Jack, and thank you.
Oh my gosh, it'll make me cry. There just aren't enough words to express the love and appreciation that we all have for your lifetime, for just being me, so many roles and connections. But Jack, I treasure your friendship. And so congratulations on this so well-deserved Lifetime Achievement Award, and just know how much you're loved.
Oh yeah, no, he ran by me on the seawall once, and it was like a gazelle going by. But not even just fast. It's like he could have leapt over my head. It was like boing, boing, boing.
Sometimes you have the opportunity in life to meet somebody who's a real game changer. And you've heard from all these great people tonight about somebody who wants to teach the teachers and coach the coaches, inspire others, selflessly giving, a great family man, a wonderful, inspirational icon for all Canadians. His name's Dr. Jack Taunton. And we have the incredible honor tonight to hear from him, but only after we present to you, Jack, a few mementos. And first, I think you'll be really happy to know that for your wonderful wife, Cheryl, there is a great running outfit from Lady Sport. And I can't imagine that you'll be happier to know that Cheryl's being honored tonight as well. There's also a couple of other items. We've got Kettle Valley, one of our supporters, is here with a very large container for you to enjoy at your leisure. There is also Catalosity that has come in with something that we dearly all want you to have because we wanted to get you off your iPhone and onto a computer for a change, and that's coming to you this evening. And from the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute, the Lifetime Achievement Award. No one we can imagine deserves it more. It's a plaque engraved in your name, and we hope that you will remember us because we're so inspired by you. Dr. Jack Taunton.
Well, thank you. After that, so many of my friends. Thank you for this tremendous Lifetime Achievement Award. So humbling. Thank you, Mike, and your team that are here tonight to make this such a fantastic gala. I've been very lucky. My career started, as you heard, in sport and exercise medicine in a pandemic. 1953, I caught polio. I was in hospital for 8 months, and I had no organized sport until I was 15. Slowed up that year as I'd already got back into running, and I got hit by a preacher's wife in a hit and run, nasty ankle fracture, and I was in a cast for 32 weeks. But learned quickly from my therapists in both experiences, exercise is medicine. I then went crazy in sports. Charter student at SFU with Cheryl, my wife. Played football, soccer, and track. In the first graduating Canese class, then I did a master's in cardiac rehabilitation, the first in the country. And believe it or not, we used exercise because it was an awful lot different than the 3 months after you had a heart attack you had to spend into bed. And it was really satisfying to see some of those things that we studied way back with Eric Bannister in my master's that are now utilized in the rehabilitation. I was the first from kinesiology at SFU to be accepted to medicine in UBC. They really must have wondered, who is this guy that was running 90 miles a week trying to make the Olympic marathon? But somebody took sympathy on me, I guess. And during this time, I started the first road running club in Canada, Lionsgate. And then out of that, co-founded, because there was only 6 of us, co-founded the Seawall Race with 2 others. 2 of us started the Vancouver Marathon. And my wife and I, and then called upon, when the race got too big for the 2 of us, Doug and Diane Clement, my partner, the Sun Run, recognized as the best event for health and fitness in Canada, as our goal was for the elite and for the beginners. And thank you to Lynn, that you've already seen tonight, and I love Lynn. Lynn really took over our in-training program for the 3,000 to 4,000 a year that learn how to run a 10K, including 40 First Nations. With Doug, we founded the first integrated sports medicine center in Canada 41 years ago. Lucky to be selected as a team physician for 8 Olympics, CMO in Sydney, and then 4.5 years CMO with many of you out there that helped me and helped me be recognized as the best ever. You were the best ever. And that was the Paralympics and the Olympics itself. I was CMO in 2 Pan Am Games, went to 7, CMO in 2 World Student Games, and then more recently, the IOC decided they'd look after the Masters athletes and had the first World Masters Games here in Vancouver. I became president of CASM, and that's the organization that looks after us crazy sports medicine doctors. Then president of the Sports Medicine Council of Canada, and out of that I started SportMed BC. I wanted Canada to follow what Australia had done, and that was to develop, in Canberra, the Australian Institute of Sport. It didn't happen, but we will make it happen. For sure, we will still have the elite, but much more important, the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute will prove that exercise really helps and is medicine. For the pandemic, especially with this second wave, it is so important, your exercise for your immunity, For your heart, it decreases the incidence of heart attacks and blood pressure. For cancer, it decreases breast, colon, and prostate cancer. And this allows me to bring my legacy. I brought $1 million a couple years ago to UBC for my partner, Don McKenzie, and we started a cancer exercise program. And more recently, with another one of our board members, Silk Cresswell, I was able to raise another $1 million for people with chronic brain disorders. Parkinson's, MS, Alzheimer's, mood disorders, depression, anxiety, and those that are still suffering conditions from concussions. We use exercise, mindfulness, and music. Don't forget that we will also have programs for seniors and child development. Industry, you're involved. After starting the very first wellness program, believe it or not, for Burnaby and Delta Fire. I can't believe other companies didn't have a wellness program. And it's been very successful. In 2010, I had to raise $7.2 million. My first sponsor was LifeLab. My pitch was it's team building. Everybody will be involved. And that's how I fundraise. Thank you for these tremendous awards. And thank you for recognizing Cheryl, because I couldn't do anything without Cheryl. And remember, our goal is to have Canada the fittest nation for 2030. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jack Taunton. Unbelievable. Thank you. There is no following that act. It's been simply an amazing, amazing night. So many phenomenal people come together with this group. A couple of quick thank yous. Number one, to my brothers who run the Mahoney's restaurants for decades now in Vancouver, constantly giving back to sports, community, education, arts over and over again. You set the benchmark very high, so way to go, guys. Couldn't be prouder. To the Mahoney's staff here tonight, doing a phenomenal job, as always, creating a guest experience in Vancouver, second to none. And to everybody here, supporting Jack, supporting the CHFI, what a fantastic, fantastic evening. So without further ado, introduce my good friend, the founder of the CHFI, John Weston, for some closing remarks. Thanks, John.
Je veux remercier tout le monde pour la participation ce soir. Three things contribute to the success of an event like tonight: broad participation, great presenters, and a third thing I'm going to come back to in just a second. But I want to thank all of those who made this special: the Governor General, our sponsors, Faskin's Lawyers, Catalosity, Alan McGavin, Physiotherapy, BU, and Catalosity. Thank you. I thank you for an amazing board. We have 35 directors and advisors and a Gala production team, all volunteers, people who roll up their sleeves and selflessly give to this organization and through us to all Canadians. I want to thank all of those supporters, people out there who've been bidding on our auction items tonight and donating. It's really been very, very encouraging. I also want to thank Hubcast. Hubcast helped produce this evening. Fiona Forbes, TV host, just managed regimentally to make us do what we needed to do, but make us feel good while we were doing it. And you heard from Mike Mahoney. Talk about a community institution. This is one of the finest locations in one of the most beautiful cities where we stand this evening, but it's also one of the most welcoming Mahoney and Sons. So I want to especially thank our host for this evening, Mike Mahoney. I mentioned it takes three things to make an evening like this successful: the participants and the presenters, the sponsors. And the third thing, and I know Dr. Jack would agree with this, it takes a vision to unify a country, a community. And we have that vision. It's to make Canada the fittest nation on earth by 2030. What does that mean? It means an ambitious road. We have to disrupt existing patterns of sedentary behavior, of diabetes, of cardiovascular disease. We have to change the road for mental illness. We have to get people out there active. And we're going to do it. We're going to make Canada the fittest nation on earth by 2030. And it will only happen if we partner with other kindred spirit organizations and with people like you. We welcome you to volunteer. We welcome you to profile us on your social media, and we're grateful for your financial contributions. Thank you, and I want to give one more shout out to our MC this evening, Scott Rintoul. Scott, you get to close us off. You've done a great job. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, John. And like John said, and like Dr. Jack said as he detailed his story, it doesn't just take one person, it takes all of us to get everybody moving forward. And that's what we want to do with the lofty goal. It's 2030, it's 10 years away. We can be the fittest country on earth, physically, mentally, and spiritually. But it takes all of us. Thank you to all of you who contributed here tonight. Thanks to the team at Hubcast as well. It takes a lot of people to put this on. It takes all of us to move forward as a country. Thanks for your generosity. Be well, stay healthy, and let's be fit together.